We're live now on social media. I'd like to welcome everybody to the September 22nd, 2025 work session. Before we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, I feel compelled to speak about the cowardly and pure evil act of the political assassination of Charlie Kirk and any violence towards free speech. I, as Creswell's mayor, officially condemn any political violence. I'm passionate about this one. I condemn any violence towards anyone in regards to free speech. Words have consequences. However, violence towards anyone who disagrees with you or has antithetical beliefs about your system should never take place. I pray for all who want to harm someone over a simple spat, conversation, or debate, or words. I hope we can all find peace, trust in our own belief systems, and choose civil disagreement as our final outcome. With that being said, I'd like to pledge allegiance to the flag that affords us that ability. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, that'll get us to the committee reports and Parks and Tree Committee. City Manager Vincent will give us the report.
So before I start, I want to acknowledge my wife, Ronnie, is in the crowd, so please be kind to me tonight.
You look extra good in that jacket.
Yes, thank you. Well, she helped me get dressed, so it worked out. So there were 3 points that were talked about at the committee. The committee really talked about looking at how we can enhance the parks, and should there be a baseline type of enhancements. And those would be site furnishings, shelters, maybe some restrooms. They're looking at the need to go back into a park after it's been completed and add these. And typically, those type of improvements are part of the project, so we don't need to go back in. So they're looking at that, and there may be some more work when they start looking at an update to their master plan. So they may add a piece about that. Garden Lake master plan was approached, and I read the minutes, and I have to check with Peter, who took the minutes, because I thought I acknowledged to them that the $25,000 that's been allocated for the bridge, we were reconsidering allocating that, mainly because we're looking at a larger project to rehabilitate the ponds, and that would require dredging, maybe narrowing the ponds or reconfiguring them. So rather than a human-built bridge, we may be able to do the same thing with the spoils of the dredge. But that wasn't captured in the minutes, so I want to go back and talk to him, because that's my recollection. They're looking at updating the street tree guide, as well as looking at their ordinances. It was talked about briefly, nothing really, no work took place at that meeting.
Updating the what? I'm sorry, the street.
The street tree guide. So,
okay. Didn't we just do that recently?
Yes, I think it was done a couple of years ago.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Some of the issue that they're running into is they have a 4x4 minimum tree well, which is pretty much a coffin for the tree, based on some of the trees that they have in that tree guide. So there's a way to specifically specify an appropriate width of a median or tree well based on the mature size of the tree.
Makes sense.
Is that it? Councilors, got any other questions or comments? Thank you, sir. We'll move on to discussion items. Don't you go anywhere. Wastewater update.
I handed out before the meeting a brief 2-page update for you. the first couple of points are points that you're aware of. What we're really talking with Lane County and the group now is the need to complete a metropolitan plan as an amendment to allow us to extend the services outside of the Eugene-Springfield area. That will be a pretty long process. It will require the different planning commissions, different councils and commissioners to hold joint meetings, which is notoriously difficult to schedule, thus the timeline. We have also been discussing DEQ's growing frustration with the city about the delay in the project. One of the things that the city is up against is Lane County's moving a little bit slower with figuring out their funding mechanism to complete the work, the Goshen work, and then to Springfield, and then we would connect to Goshen. One of the things that we talked about were Creswell taking over that portion, which would mean about an $11 million increase to the project. And what it would allow us to do is move the project along, control the project, and be set up, since we own the project, for payment from Lane County and Goshen residents for either future SDCs or connection fees. We don't have a specific return on investment, but with the growth that Goshen may experience, and certainly the hookup of the landfill to our system, could prove that $11 million will be paid back. We are in the process now of calculating the SDCs, looking more into the potential payback should we go ahead and do this. From staff standpoint, it's $11 million. That's a lot. The opportunity that we get some of that money back, if not all of it, is good for us. But the fact that we're kind of in this holding pattern and we're not controlling, if you will, our own destiny with this project, it's tough to be caught in between DEQ and Lane County. So we would like to go to continue this planning effort with DEQ and see what materializes. As costs start getting refined, as things start revealing themselves more, you will certainly get updates. But that allowing us to connect to the regional wastewater system with our own project, I think checks off a lot of boxes for us.
Councilors have any questions or comments on that discussion?
Yeah, a little bit. Initially, because it's coming from Creswell and going up to Springfield. So where you have to be with Lane County to allow us to do all this, correct?
Yes, Lane County we'll still work with Lane County for any easements or routing. But the project, we'll move forward with the project without their funding mechanism or piece.
Okay.
If I can assist you in this, if I recall, especially with Jim, if you want to comment, we're looking at $70 or $80 million to create our own. By doing this, there's a chance of saving 30 or 40 million. We're going to have to spend some millions, but there's still a chance of saving 30, 40, $50 million here potentially. And like you said, controlling our own destiny and a better chance for us to make it affordable for other people, but also should not bring down rates, but we're going to be in more control, which gives us a lot more freedom, and I think it's worth the investment. So I'm in full agreement with this. I think it will come back. I don't know if we'll get the full 11 million all the way back, but I do think it'll come back pretty close.
And it'll be a nice revenue stream that we can budget also at times.
And it's a good way to stay in the game, because if we don't stay in the game, we're going to be told what to do, and I don't like that. I'm not a fan of that. I think everybody here knows that. I can be a petulant child sometimes, so I don't want to be told what to do. I think it's a good investment.
So my only concern is that 11 million. I mean, I don't want to put that on our burden, but know that in the same boat. But I would really like a cement way of us trying to get back our money that we're putting into that
Okay.
$11 million. Like, that's not just handing out candy, that's a lot of money. So, and we're footing the bill for that. And like I said, we'll benefit from it, but I would like to see the best possible way for us to get the most back off of controlling our destiny.
Okay.
So,
Yes.
And I think you were pretty clear, like, that 11 million, we're gonna spend the money on these improvements anyway?
Well, there's a portion built in to, so the overall project is 52 million.
Uh-huh,
There's 11 million of sunk costs that we would need to do otherwise. That's different than what I'm talking about with Lake County.
okay.
So we're really looking at the project more at 41 million, because that 11 million we need to do regardless if we connect to the regional system or not,
Okay.
so.
52, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
For a frame of that reference too, when we had meetings with the DEQ and Jim was there, when I told them that, $70 million, $60 million could bankrupt Creswell, they kind of laughed. And I was upset. I said, we are 5,800 people, that's $1 million per person. You're insane if you think that wouldn't bankrupt us, to force us to do our own wastewater system. This connection, it has to happen. And I tried to bring that in with, if you bring in Lane County, you bring in Springfield, you bring in Goshen, that brings down the rates for everybody. Now we're helping out more people, now you're gonna get more help. And I know that we have to spend the money, and it's, we all need everybody's ideas on this, but I would like everybody to know that I took it as being scoffed at and saying, oh, that's a little hyperbolic to say that we'll be bankrupt. But when I say we have 5,800 people, and there's a lot of kids here, and $1 million per person, I can't afford that.
Who are you saying that to?
When we had a meeting here, we had a Zoom meeting, so we had not all the county commissioners, but we had most of the county commissioners, we had other counselors, I was the only mayor, we had other finance people there, so we had as many as we could get on one TV there discussing it. And I would say, well, there's probably 30 there, Jim, a little bit more.
Could be.
And this is back when they
Curtis was there,
prioritized the
yeah.
IMERG, right? When they
It was-
chose to prioritize that project over this?
Yes, but this was
Yeah.
more about the wastewater line to
Yeah.
get up to Dillard, and at that time, we were trying to push like, hey, we'll get it up to Dillard, we'll take
Yeah.
over that responsibility, you just let us do this, and I think everybody should know they scoffed at us, and $58 million is $1 million apiece. There's no way, there's few people in Creswell that can afford that, so.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Next question I have is this any portion of Goshen contributing to this too?
That hasn't been talked about. I think
They're
we're
gonna be
picking up
connecting
that.
into it.
But I think their portion will come when they make the connections into
Yeah.
it. We will charge them with SDCs or a connection fee, but they're not,
They're not going to contribute to the cost of the construction of it?
no, because for them, it's not needed right now, right? But when the line goes past them, it'll be advantageous for them to connect into.
They wouldn't be generating revenue from it either, right?
No, they would be, I don't know the specifics at this point, but it would either be SDCs or connection fees, or a combination
Right, but I'm
thereof.
saying Goshen wouldn't, would they make money off of it?
No.
Would they take in SDCs? Okay, that's
No.
what
Well,
I
and that's one of the advantages with this system.
Yes.
If Lane County was to build it, it sounded like we would start being charged SDC fees for that system. So again, it creates revenue, but then it also potentially lowers our future expenses as well. It's a huge investment. It's, when we first talked about it a couple of weeks ago, when I put it in my update, it was 5 to 7 at that point. And then we refined the numbers. Jim did a great job in refining the numbers. And although I don't know how great it is because the cost increased, but we got better information. And that's why I'd like to give you frequent updates, because we're discovering what we don't know as we proceed with all the hidden costs, the SDCs. We're still figuring out a consistent way to figure out the SDCs between all of the agencies. So and we would like to make a decision so we stop spinning our wheels, so we can just focus on getting this done. Because every month delay, every seasonal delay means more construction costs. The costs are going to increase with each year that passes by, or each couple of months that pass by. So we would like to take this as sort of the preferred option still, look at taking it on ourselves, and then do a little bit more detail in the costs and the SDC's methodology and those things. And then, again, as soon as more information is revealed, I'll bring back an update to you.
So Lane County owns the dump right there, and they would be tying into it. Can't they absorb some of this? Because they're going straight into it too at this point.
Well, the way that
We're trying
we're,
to cut this, like,
sure, no,
give
I,
any type of money that we can.
well, this doesn't include the connection to the landfill. That would come after, and if it's our system, we would charge Lane County for that connection. This is a straight run from Goshen, from us to Goshen would make the connection, and then would go into Springfield, and then over to the facility in Eugene. But we didn't include in the cost the connection to Short Mountain.
I'm totally on board with like the mayor, is like, we have to go forward with this, but trying to absorb so much money with such a small town,
Yes,
you know, city, we like to share the cost, because they're all gonna be coming right into that line that we're building. So, I mean, I think that's my biggest thing, is just
Sure.
trying to see if there's anywhere that we can share some of this cost.
okay,
So, other than that, like I said, we have to go forward with it. It's still cheaper than building our own and maintaining our own. So, yeah, any way that we could try to get some share inside the cost of this would be great.
okay. We'll definitely be open to that and explore that conversation. Yes?
And any idea when we will get a affirmative, yes, come connect to the regional solution? We still don't have a,
Well, we have pretty good indication that all the parties are agreeing to it. I think all the parties are playing it close to the vest right now because the governing bodies haven't voted on it. So until it goes to the governing bodies, it goes through the plan amendment process. It's, you know, I put myself in that position as well, that this is a good idea, it makes sense, but until you guys decide that that's the way we're going, I can't give 100% commitment. I can say that this, out of all the options, this is the best option. But what we've received from the other parties is that this regional approach makes sense for everybody.
sure, absolutely. But we still need a yes from them, do
Correct.
we not? Because I believe the council
Yes.
is all on board
Yes.
with this.
And I think that yes indirectly will be given when the plan amendment is updated that allows Eugene and Springfield to extend their services. Right now, they can't extend any of their services outside of their boundaries. And we're asking them to extend their services outside of their boundary. The first step in answering that yes is that plan amendment and having that go through all of the different commissioners and planning committees. And the reason for it and the purpose for it will be part of that application and part of all the presentations.
Okay.
Anybody else? Well, this is a work session. Does anybody in the audience got any questions? We're a lot more familiar than you are, so. Bill?
Just did a little bit of math on my flip phone. To pay that off for 1,500 homes, that's 3 or 4 people per home, is about $2,500 a year per person. Is that kind of the numbers you're looking at? I mean, millions don't mean much until it gets down to each one of us.
Exactly.
Is that about the number we're talking about?
What's your amortization period? Is it 30 years, 40 years?
I went 20.
Okay. USDA will give us 40. And so
Okay.
it's a little better than
A
that.
little
but
bit, depends on how much of it's interest, but,
Yeah.
okay.
It's definitely forecasting hopeful return on investment on that 11 million for sure. And I do think it will be there long-term, but, you know,
Yeah.
Jim's the educated, highly paid financial guy, so.
Right. Those are-
The other thing that may come into play here, and we don't know, we haven't been sitting down looking at all the funding options. Strictly for the regional solution, there may be more funding mechanisms than if we do it ourselves. So i.e. more grant possibilities where we just don't get grants in the city of Creswell because of our median household income.
Chair?
What is SDC?
Oh, I'm sorry, system development charges. Those are charges that are charged to development for increased capacity on systems and for building new systems to accommodate development and growth.
And you believe that Creswell has the strength
to do something like this?
How are you using the word strength? Like where, have the ability to do it?
Can afford to do it? Yeah, and what are you gonna do to the residents? Bill's got a number, but I wanna know what this actually looks like to each resident.
Yeah. When we have that information, that'll be part of the presentation, the cost impact. Right now, I don't have specifics on that because I don't know how much of that 52 million may be offset by grants, or what specific process we would have with loans with with the different federal agencies and state agencies. So, and as that information comes up, that'll be part of the future presentation.
So one more thing,
Sure.
when you give us that information as you come up with it, are you gonna give it to us before you make your final decisions? So we hear what we're facing, or are you just gonna say, this is what we've done and this is what you pay?
Yeah, so I foresee pretty much the same process that we have here. A larger presentation would go to a work session, so I can field questions from the council, from the public, adjust any way that we may need to as staff, and then bring it back to the council for a vote at a future meeting.
That's when you send all of your fun emails to let us know what you think. Debbie?
I'm just wondering, how are you being the city manager, even council and mayor, but how are you preparing for a worst-case scenario if you do not get grants and you do not get buy-in and you do not get additional funding and things go really south? It's on the citizens. I'm certain you're thinking
Sure.
of that, but that sort of goes along with what she's asking, which is, how are you going to let us know? What input are we going to have?
Sure. First question, I think our capability is up to 71 or 72 million. So we have the wherewithal or the bandwidth for 71 or 72 million dollars expenditure. We're looking desperately not to spend that and to reduce the cost as much as possible. One of the options of building a new plant was about a $70 million venture. And that's not even to say the needed upgrades in 5 years after its construction, 10 years after construction. So it's not only 70 million, but then it's ongoing millions of dollars worth of expense. So the decision process that we're making now or having now is, I think, in the best interest of Creswell from a standpoint of, we have to do this, what's the least amount that we can spend, and then if we're going to have to spend more, how do we look at being able to generate revenue for the citizens to offset some of those costs? And again, this is early in the process. We made the internal decision that this sounded good to us, and it needed to go to this work session to get a reading from the council. But I will commit to work sessions like this where the information is put down in front of people and it's clear what those costs are going to be.
Yeah, it's dangerous to approach this as something that we want to have. This is something we need to have. And it's not like we're buying a new car. Like we're going to pay the cost, whether it's to do something good or pay the cost of not having the facilities that we need to have. And I appreciate you thinking outside the box and coming up with creative ways to try to save people money and to do it well. And
It's the incredible staff.
yeah, that's amazing. And fear could really, fear could put you in a bad place when you're afraid to spend the money you need to spend to do what you need to do.
Well, and we don't have the ideal solution on the table anymore. So this issue came up 30, 40 years ago, and we don't have that ideal situation anymore. So it's really, how do we extract an ideal situation from an unideal circumstance?
That's great.
Sure.
Others have asked me that they could not be here tonight. You're talking about funding, you're talking about predicting, you're talking about carrying a finance and where it goes. There is a rumor going around that the money allocated for the street project that is slowly is materializing. The money was taken away and given to the airport by someone's decision. Is that a rumor or is that a fact?
For me, right now, that's a rumor because I haven't heard anything like that.
So the funding that you did, that was put down for this project that's going on, that money is still there and has not been taken?
And so there's a couple of things with that. When a project is approved through a CIP process, that money is specific to that project, and that gets reviewed with an audit to see how that was expensed. The airport is enterprise fund, which we really can't mix general operating dollars with the airport. That would be picked up in an audit. So if those people that are talking to you want to come in and talk to me and Jim, we'll definitely sit down with them.
I think it was an appropriate question when you're talking about creating and spending money and stuff, and we see some of the process going on around here. It's a legitimate question to clarify. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not questioning the validity of the question.
I'm curious on this DEQ stuff, if you know, if I know that we're not the only city this is happening to. It's happening to a lot of small cities throughout Oregon. They're having the same moratorium issues. Have the small cities come together at all and talked about this and talked about options that maybe they can stand up to the DEQ together?
If they have, I'm not aware of it.
Okay.
We can reach out to some of our counterparts.
I mean, maybe it just takes one person to get that going, because it's ridiculous. They're strangling small cities, you know, and then we have Lane County who backburnered the Goshen project so that they could push forward the IMERF, right? And with no consideration, and that's after you met with them, with no consideration to what they're doing to small cities. It's almost like they want us to fail. And I think it would be interesting, maybe put together a meeting with all of the small city managers or the relevant parties just to say, hey, what can we do? Is there anything we can do? I'm just curious if anybody's done that. I would love to know.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll take that as an action item.
But I like the plan. We chose that plan because it's the least impactful to our residents financially. And so hopefully we'll be able to make it happen.
Yes.
Anybody else on that topic? Brandon?
Are there any downsides to doing it? Like, are there grants that could potentially happen if Lane County did this project that we would qualify for, that by doing it ourselves, we disqualify for? Like, I'm just thinking of the end user cost, because like, if he says 50 million, obviously I'd rather pay 11 than 50, and eventually you'll get that money back. Of course, in 40 years, 11 million doesn't mean the same as it does today, but we'll see those dollars back eventually. But by doing this, are we barring ourselves from things that may have come into use that we can't use now because we took it over?
In the initial conversations with DEQ, I don't remember that coming up, that if you do this, you won't be eligible for this. It seemed like this route DEQ was excited about, and that we would be able to get some funding. But we'll be aware of what we may nullify through this process.
Good question. Anybody else before we move on? Thank you, Vincent.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Move on to B, and Curtis, come on down, sir. Annexation 2025-04, James Nelson annexation request.
And I thought about presenting both of these annexations kind of as one presentation. Is there any issue with that?
No?
Okay. So we have two annexations this month. One's 1.11 acres just north of the high school off New Block, and one's 0.52 acres, two parcels off of Morris Avenue and 5th. And so we've gone through a few annexations this year, and there's only a few criteria. One is the parcel within the urban growth boundary? Are the parcels contiguous to city limits? Is annexing the parcel or parcels consistent with our comprehensive plans? And can key urban services be provided? So can we provide the parcels with water, sewer, roadway, et cetera? And so we've had a few presentations, and there's a lot of concerns of what happens after annexation, what happens at development. And so just kind of going over the annexation criteria, by having a piece of property within the growth boundary, we have a lot of policies that cater themselves towards annexing the parcel. And there's 4 lists of criteria to completely annex. Whereas a development application with a subdivision or a housing project, that can be 40 pages of criteria, so it's a pretty stringent process. Annexation's kind of the easy step right before it. And so just from like staff level, like one of my jobs is to kind of say, hey, council, here are the rules, and here's my recommendation as to how this annexation meets the rules. But then I also acknowledge that your position is you have to kind of communicate with the people and demonstrate that these policies are overall good for our community. And so I'll just kind of offer some of my feedback that annexations are a really easy way to add property taxes to the city of Creswell. One of our goals is to be a good moderator of our fiscal policies. It's an easy way to add new users to our water system and our sewer system, and to kind of help keep sewer rates low. And so we're adding an acre, half acre, totally make or break the bank? No, but it's kind of one of the pieces to the puzzle. And then also kind of just taking a bigger step back, the way our property tax system is set up in Oregon is that property taxes only go up 3% year over year. And so a way for a city to kind of keep up with inflation and cost increasing is by bringing on new property, bringing on development, because our property tax base can only increase by so much, and one of our jobs is to keep the lights on. And so one way to help our property tax base is to bring in new properties. And so more specifically, so we have Nelson's property. Again, it's near the high school. The reason that they want to annex is because they're having some issues with their septic tank, and just kind of the location of the septic tank being closer to the house. And so they've kind of decided that it's time to annex into the city and contribute to our property tax base. And then the Goodells, they have a couple acres that are off 5th and Morris. It's kind of the pocket of Creswell that is mostly county property. One of their properties is vacant, and they can't develop that property because it's within 300 feet of a sewer line. And if you're within 300 feet of a sewer line, you're not allowed to build a septic system. So kind of their only option kind of going forward to provide some value to this property is to annex into city limits, pay to extend the sewer line. It'll be expensive for them. But annexing is kind of both property owners' best option going forward to make the most use of their property. Any questions?
Alan?
So how much of this other properties on for both of them are annexed with the city? Because I was looking at the map earlier, and it looked like a lot of these were not. And are any of these other ones wanting to?
Not that I've heard.
Okay.
Like I said, there's the neighborhood of parcels around 6th Street that are all county, and every now and then if somebody's septic tank fails, that's when I'll get a phone call and say, hey, can I annex into city limits at this time? And usually the answer is no, because the sewer line is too far away. But I think my hunch is most of those property owners are happy to stay in the county and pay a lower tax rate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Got one. So I read that the one that was by the school, they're not looking at developing that any further as of yet. Does the other one plan on growing that area as for bringing in housing or anything?
I'm not positive what the plans will be. I mean, both property owners have talked about what they can do with their property, how to kind of maximize value. I know for, the Nelson's property, the first concern is just let's get the septic tank off the property and not worry about that anymore. The other property, they have, I think it's kind of interesting, but I also live in this world. There's 2 tax lots and there's 4 legal lots. So when it was, the subdivision for this area was initially created, there were 4 lots, but then they were kind of bought and sold as 2 lots, and so there's 2 tax lots, 4 legal lots, which basically means that they have kind of pre-divided the property. And so we've kind of talked about what they can do, and they can build 4 single-family homes, they can build 4 duplexes, and that's about the extent of what we discussed.
Stacy?
When they get annexed in, they'll get like a city bill, right? They'll police services, everything like that. And is that a conversation you have with them? Do they know this?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I figured as much, but I thought I'd check. And then it also says that city services wouldn't start until they completed the connection.
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean none of that other stuff happens either? You're not taking in money for like the transportation utility fee or anything until that happens?
I think it depends on the service as to when we start collecting them.
Sure.
So the annexation is official 30 days after the ordinance is signed. And then I send all the paperwork to the Department of Revenue, and then they reclassify the property as a city property, so the taxes get shifted over. And I know when they connect to water and sewer, obviously the bills would shift over. Transportation, I'm not positive. I think it would be
I
almost
was just
immediate.
curious because you're saying city services won't be available,
Mhm.
but is that just sewer and water city services?
For the criteria, it's a good question. I think it's focused on, water, sewer, roadway.
Okay, yeah, I think we
storm.
should clarify that, just because we have a lot of other city services, particularly like, public safety and things like that, so. I was just curious, I'd like to know.
Good question. Anybody else? So just to clarify right now, you're getting the temperature of the council to approve or not approve an annexation. That is our discussion. Does anybody in the audience have any comments on this?
Well, I'll tell you, the one on knee block, talking about the services, I'm already hooked up to city water. The only thing I'm planning on doing is hooked up to city sewer. I don't know what other city services you're talking about, other than, of course, the sheriff that works for the city
Sure.
would be able to respond there.
Right.
Other than that, I mean, I can't imagine what else you're talking about.
Okay.
That it?
And I'll just advise that if there is a big concern with the annexation, I think the best way, if there was a reason to deny it, I have to be instructed to change the criteria that address, or change my findings that address the criteria.
Okay.
That'd be my best advice, yeah.
All right, so let's go around the table real quick, just get a nod of the head. Are you for the annexation?
Absolutely.
Four.
I'm for it
Okay,
too.
great, thank you.
All right, real quick, we did a quick adjustment. We had to add an E to the agenda. And if you're okay with it, Vincent, I'd like to maybe get this one first, so that way we can really focus on your presentation.
Sure, absolutely.
I didn't get a chance to catch it because it was literally right at 6.
No
But
worries.
we're gonna add E to it, and it's normally do an annual review of the city manager. You haven't been here that long, you're doing a great job, but I really don't know, why would we go meet and do an executive session just for you when we really haven't had the background to evaluate? So I'd like to get the council's approval to just postpone this to next year, if you're okay with that, if the council's okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, all right, E is done, we're gonna postpone
You
to
had
next
me
year.
at, you're doing a great job.
I thought so, I used to try and blindside you and I hit you behind. All right, so we'll move forward, Caitlin, with next
That was
year.
easy.
That was, all right, now we're gonna go back to D and do the downtown discussion with all the dead trees on the table here. Which I appreciate, by the way.
Before I begin, I do want to remind the council that I live in downtown commercial. I included that in my August 17th update. So anytime the council will need to make a decision, or when the council makes a decision, I will recuse myself from the entire process from start to finish. This here is an information sort of forensic planning exercise that we did, and the council's not having any decision. So I don't think there's a conflict of interest, and I feel compelled to gauge whether the council at this point thinks there's a conflict of interest before I begin.
I have not seen one thus far. Not said that something couldn't come up, but I don't see one right now. Alonzo?
Yes, if this is just informative.
Yes.
I don't believe there is one.
Joan?
No, I don't see it.
I'm good.
Alan?
Good.
Likewise. Mark? All right.
Okay?
Thank you for bringing that to our attention, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So the purpose of this presentation is to really review the evolution of the downtown commercial, which dates back to 1975, and to really put some context and provide you how this planning evolution is applied today. The documents that I bombarded you with go back to 1973 and Senate Bill 100, which required municipalities to do comprehensive planning and comprehensive land use planning. We have a 1975 comprehensive land use plan that is really the precursor to the 1982 plan. It was submitted to the state in 1977 and then took 4 years to get adopted and approved. Another document that you have is the 2001 downtown plan and the ordinance that approved it and incorporated it into the comprehensive plan. You also have the 2009 downtown plan, which is really a progress report on the 2001 plan. You have the 2020 plan, downtown plan, which is a little bit of a refinement of the 2021 with regard to, it specified more beautification, it detailed parking a little bit more, and really looked at transportation a little bit closer with regard to specific details. So with that, we will begin. So the downtown commercial area is bounded by A Street and D Street, Front Street to 3rd Street. It occupies about 23 acres in our city. You can see City Hall is kind of in the center of that, just as a point of reference. The major planning documents that contribute to the evolution of the downtown commercial is the 75 comprehensive plan that identifies this area as community commercial. In 1982, that was revised a little bit to general commercial or commercial. The 2001 plan really identified or refined the commercial use to a specific downtown commercial, with the thought of making the core of Creswell pedestrian-friendly, guided growth, and having that strong economic core to the city. The 2020 refined the 2021, really focused on how will pedestrians move throughout the downtown area. What are the amenities? What are the beautification? How do we make it pedestrian friendly? That's what the 2020 primarily focused on. From 1975 to present day, there's been repeated themes in the documents with our zoning code application that really looked at, and this was first coined in 1975, compact and guided growth. We want economic development here and we want to grow, but we want it to be guided. Also, commercial uses that complement the commercial uses in the metro area or potential uses along the freeway. So throughout the planning evolution, it really was two areas that developed, sub-areas as they're called in the plans. Sub-area one is the freeway commercial, highway commercial. Sub-area two is the downtown core, is the retail and businesses that would occur within the downtown. Small town atmosphere has been constant over the planning evolution. pedestrian scale, safety, movement throughout and across the commercial area has also been a principle that's been maintained. And planning forward and maintaining the vision, it's really quite incredible. And I'm sure you've all read from cover to cover the 1975 plan. Twice. But it's really incredible what they're talking about in a way, or trying to deal with back then, we're still wrangling with. In 2001, the concern over parking, conflict of uses, we're still dealing with. So it's pretty incredible to me as a planning nerd, watching all of these documents try to wrestle with the same thing. And each do a little bit better, but the core issue is still here.
It's true for the jog too.
Yeah, they talked
They've
about that
been
50
talking
years
about
ago.
that. I saw that in there too. It's like, oh my gosh, it's been a problem forever.
Along with all of the planning that took place, investment started. Since 2004, investment has taken place, and we've spent about $4 million trying to implement and bring these planning documents to fruition. Jim did a great job in adjusting those for inflation to see what it would be in today's dollars, and it's closer to $10 million of an investment in today's dollars. I think that's important because you're still faced with the challenges of parking, conflict of uses, and we're still on the path to want to do more investment. Thus, this presentation to try to give you a comprehensive understanding of what we've been trying to deal with since 1975, what you guys have fresh exposure to with the neighbors and the Second Street project, and then where do we go from here? I just did a couple of excerpts, and I really won't read them verbatim, but again, the 2020 plan looked at eliminating the minimum parking requirements for businesses under 2,500 square feet to try to generate business downtown. And it's also introduced this thought of allowing commercial uses on the ground floor, residential on the top floor, or vice versa, depending on if you're on the north or south side of Oregon Avenue. Go back to the 2001 plan. They looked at to offset the loss of parking, to build parking spaces either in the perimeter or in available lots. So again, it's been recognized that there's residential uses within the commercial. We've adjusted our parking regulations to try to spur development, but it wasn't with the thought back then that we're going to have conflict and we're going to have to offset parking somehow. Now, we have two public lots, one in back of City Hall and one across from City Hall. So then the question at some point for the council will be, where else should we put public parking? Should we put public parking? You know, you need to, at some point, wrestle with that question.
It's interesting because didn't the city sell a lot a few years ago?
Are we talking about the one?
Wasn't there a lot that got
The
sold?
only lots I know got sold was the old city shop properties.
And in the little house too.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
schoolhouse, yeah. I was just thinking of it. I thought there was an empty lot that had, I could be wrong. But it just made me think about it. It's like, if we needed the parking, why didn't we do that, right? Like.
Yeah, well, and I think that will be a reoccurring question. Like, if these recommendations have been reiterated for a number of years, I think this council has a great opportunity to finally get something done.
Yeah, it's unfortunate it's gone on so long.
Yeah. So the conflicts of uses that, so at one of our last city council meetings, a lot of the public came up and were talking about Second Street and downtown commercial and all of the conflict of uses. And I listened to that, And that's why I thought this presentation might be helpful, to present a comprehensive or an overview of how we got here. And it really came to you with the Second Street example. And that is a quintessential example of conflict of use. You have residential uses in a commercial area by design. What's not by design is that there hasn't been a solution-based outcome to try to balance that conflict of use. In the potential of the conflict has been previously identified. Downtown Plan 2020 provide several small parking lots towards the perimeters. So again, numerous times it's been, where can we set up public parking? How do we offset that? Where do we make it strategic so folks in the downtown will park and then walk to a business or a commercial use? And that's one of the tenets that the planning documents show. They wanted a pedestrian-friendly, pedestrian movement throughout the downtown commercial area. The question now becomes, how do we get there? And how effective can we become in trying to get there? So the council has three options, and again, we're not looking for a decision, but this is what you're going to have to weigh. As always, an option is to do nothing, take it on a case-by-case basis. Option 2, maintain the downtown commercial zone, but do a really effective planning effort to take a real good and detailed look at the conflict and then at parking, and start thinking about, do the parking regulations need to be updated? Do we need to identify additional areas for public lots? Again, aligned with all of the planning documents from 1975. A third option is to change the downtown commercial zone. That's also an option for the council. Either reconfigure it, change it to remove some of the residential houses, which would change some of the requirements. And there's probably hybrid options within all of these, but those are your three main things. Do nothing, keep the zoning, look at regulation-based and conflict of uses and address it that way through additional parking requirements, or change the zone in some form or matter, either by changing the boundary, removing some of the residential uses, things like that.
If you remove some of the residential uses, what does that look like? I need an example.
Well, you would take a block maybe of residential housing that's maybe on the outskirts of the core that otherwise may not add anything to the intent of the core. So there might be a block on the northeast or south, northwest or southwest that could be removed. You can isolate a grid of housing. So rather than a square boundary, there might have penetrations and protrusions in it.
Okay.
How would that affect taxes and home values? And
Yeah.
That I don't know at this point.
Measure 49 would probably come into something like that then.
What'd you say?
Measure 49 would come into something like that, where it affects the value of the houses around it. So
That would be my concern.
Chair?
Couple questions.
Sure.
We have 2 lots. You mentioned 2 lots. City employees park in the lot behind City Hall, plus the bakery staff parks in that parking lot. So then 2nd Street, what is existing of it right now for that bakery is a nightmare. And it was not a good day Friday because I'd been up all night. I had a child in the hospital. I was exhausted. One vehicle after another, trucks, literally blocked my driveway. Asked to move. I lost it. I really came close to losing it. Because, and basically, we're going to the bakery. Deal with it. There's no parking. This is a mess. And off they walk. It's a nightmare. People come down with trailers, campers, utility trailers. They don't even begin to know how to get out of there. UPS made one mistake. They blocked my driveway, and the guy looked at me and he says, "Do you get packages?" He got called in. Don't threaten me, but don't block my driveway. And he had literally backed into it to deliver packages to the bakery. Now, if you take, so this is a headache, this is a nightmare. When is this project going to actually start and get done? Because D Street has drug on. Now, you remove houses.
Yeah, sure.
There's-
Can we stay on task of this right now?
Okay, if you move houses out of what you're saying, so we are residential, commercial homes. That is what we are classified as. We are not classified as strictly commercial. We are classified, our homes that we have bought and people have lived in for over 30 years, they are residential homes.
What's your question? I'm sorry.
So-
I'm sorry about your child first. Let's get that out of the way. I
That's-
apologize that you have to go through that. It's got to be horrible.
The nightmare on Second Street, you have not addressed. You cannot walk across any street in your commercial zone, Main Street, without the possibility of getting hit. I have let out with my dogs and nobody stops.
I think this might be, it might be something we need to discuss maybe after, or we can get with Vincent, or we can have a meeting. But I'd like to stay on task on this right now, because this is a deeper dive. Brandon, you got a question?
Yeah, I was curious. So 50 years ago, they created the downtown plan. That's what, 75 is what you said, right? So I doubt you have these statistics, but I would be curious to see in that time, what has the influx of business been, as in how many businesses were either created, houses converted? Because I feel like, looking at everything, Creswell thought 50 years ago, my house was going to be a commercial zone, which I commend them for thinking forward that, 50 years we'll have flying cars and people will be buying donuts across the street from the bakery, but that's not what happened. So if our plan stays the same for another 50 years, right now we just had to dump a bunch of money into that street to bring it up to this commercial, what it is, but how many of those properties over the last 50 years have actually been used as commercial? And what would the ramifications be if we did turn that back into residential? Because 50 years is a long time. I feel like that's a good case study to see that, hey, downtown didn't expand where we thought it would. It went down Oregon, or it went, down across the railroad tracks. But what is the value of keeping my home in a commercial district?
And that's why this presentation is occurring. So that exact answer in the options can be given to the council. And that came up at one of our last meetings, that, what's been the comprehensive approach and where are we today? In some cases, we're no further removed about the concern over the conflict of uses that they were in 2001 or 1982. So your question is right on, and ultimately that's the question for this council. What is the option that, they would like to do?
Was that answered, Brandon?
Yeah, I think it was just as much a statement as a question, so I think he handled it great.
Okay. Bill?
So I was part of that 2001 committee, and we talked about the fact that we weren't going to force houses to become commercial. The theory was, whenever that house needs to be rebuilt, it wouldn't be granted the right to rebuild it, some of that sort of thing. But the fact is, most of them still stay and they're still residential. In other words, whatever you do to maybe pick out a block somewhere over behind 4th Street, unless there's a way to buy those houses and to change it into a different use, it looks to me like what he's just described is what you're expecting to happen again.
Yeah, which we want to avoid that at all costs. Yeah.
Can I pose one more quick question?
Please do.
It's a little late in the game now, we've already done this, but if these changes are addressed, I don't know how soon you can address these, would that impact the Second Street project? Could you stop the need for these wider streets, wider everything going on? Could you save the city money by making this change, or is it too late in the game?
I think the project is well out ahead of any land use decision that the council would be able to make. Because we would need to do a pretty in-depth study, public outreach, zoning code review. So you're talking at least 6 to 9 months minimum on something like that. The Second Street project is scheduled to be completed late spring, early summer next year. So answer your question directly, yes, it's too late. Does it give reason, depending on what the council decision is, does it give reason to pause maybe another project until this question's answered? Maybe.
I think that's what we have right now is questions and.
Yep.
Suzie?
I don't want option one, I know that for sure. One thing that I think about though is how much more we want to focus on the downtown commercial zone, right? Because I think right now, I personally think we should be changing our focus to over by McDonald's and cutting that street through, because that's a nightmare now.
Yep.
And it also would give another way for traffic to flow. And so there's two benefits, right? So I'm not really sure which option to pick, but I'm wondering, I don't want to spend a ton of time on this because I think, is that going to help? Is anything that we do here going to help that?
Help
The
highway
it's like, yeah.
No, I mean, in the plans, it's been identified as a sub-area within the
Right.
downtown plan, one of the downtown plans. I don't think you're going to, just because of the setting, you're not gonna run into the type of conflict of uses there that
So
you
none
will
of
in the
this,
downtown
okay.
area. And these options are for you guys to mull over. And I mean, this is whatever, except for option one, if you choose option 2 or 3, those are big planning projects that need to be budgeted. So it's not where a decision certainly needs to be made tonight, but it may be something we revisit in more detail, which option you might be exploring in another work session.
Well, then I would love to do one, but I don't want to kick the can down the road
Yes.
for another 25 years.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think that we have to be committed to doing the hard work.
I agree.
Yeah.
I was looking at a lot of this weekend, because I know we were talking about making the commercial coming around from McDonald's and coming back over onto Mill Street.
Yeah.
And then Mill Street, if that would come right across the street, I think onto D or one of those streets, and you can just pretty much block off Pearl Street where it comes right across the tracks and take a left. You can just cut that off and just make that go straight across only. And that would create some parking spots right there, being a city-owned. For one block, you have a big parking area.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I think there's still tenets or principles throughout the planning process about when possible, the city should look for an additional public parking on the perimeter. I mean, I think that should be on our radar as staff all the time, so we could report back to you. The guided growth, the pedestrian movement, I think those are great for a small town atmosphere, and we can hold on to those. The question becomes, how big of a footprint of the downtown commercial do we need to meet the economic growth that we desire? That's for another iteration of conversation. I ran out of paper, I couldn't report on this anymore.
How does staff feel about the options?
I'll let them speak, and I won't even glare at them.
Great. So I would love to have their opinions, especially, like Cliff, you've been around a long time. I'd love to hear your opinion if you have one. If you don't, that's fair.
No, I do. I favor option 2.
Yeah. He's fine.
See that pretty face on Cliff?
Yeah, very demanding city manager.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, I think option 2, where there's an update to what we have. But the one thing that I think more about, the planning portion is probably more in Curtis's ballpark, but I think about the streets and the classifications. And even though it might be a residential or it might be a commercial, the classification of the street will determine what that street is built to. So if it's an arterial or a major arterial, even though it's in residential, it might be built to a bigger standard. So there's some other drivers for street building that doesn't really it's not really reflected by zoning.
Okay.
But I do think there needs to be some balancing to what we have. I don't think it's working great.
It's not.
So hybrid 2 and 3 is what I'm getting from everybody is.
I think I mostly agree with what Councilor Holt said, that we have some pretty big priorities in the city, and yes, the downtown conflict of parking is an issue. Is it one that I would recommend focusing time on? Probably not. Parking and traffic issues mean that people want to be here. It's another way to look at it. If things start to get really unsafe and there's a lot of crashes, then, from my opinion, I would elevate this concern. I also agree with what Brandon said, that there's houses that have been residential for a long time. You can zone it whatever you want to zone it. It's going to take a long time for those houses to turn over into businesses. You do see it happen. I think downtown Springfield has a couple examples of homes that have been converted into cute little businesses. Will that happen in Creswell? Eventually. The market can change pretty quickly for stuff like that. I don't have a crystal ball, but history does repeat itself, and we haven't seen a lot of changes in the last 50 years. I wouldn't expect a ton of changes in the next 50 years.
Excellent. Thank you, Curtis. Appreciate it.
The only thing I can speak to is buying property with city funds to provide parking. In some way, somehow, we have to recoup that. And so, I don't want to start looking down the line for parking fees and those types of things. But those are things we'd have to consider if we do.
Yeah.
Concrete is not cheap.
Thank you for that information, actually. It's a good call out.
Okay, that's all that I had.
Anybody else have any questions before we?
It's kind of a question, I think. So the Second Street project, we talked a little bit briefly about that. There were some modifications to it because it is commercial, correct? So it's been built for commercial. So if hypothetically, if that neighborhood there said, hey, we want to go back to residential, how does that affect the street? Would that just be no big deal? I mean, it's just a commercially designed street that is now residential neighborhood?
Yeah,
No big deal?
My thought is, and maybe Cliff needs to come up and confirm it, but my thought is the street would still work. It would be built to a higher standard, but we wouldn't revert the street back.
Sure.
The difference is maybe that there'd be more parking, sidewalks, things like that, and maybe built for a different speed.
So there would be we can't go residential because it's a commercial street? No. Okay.
Yeah, I might add to that real quick. Let's just for this conversation say that was all residentially zoned. The street would still be built somewhat like it is now because there's other considerations that comes into building a street. It's a bus route for one, so it would be built to handle that sort of traffic. We know that the fire department is going to take over the community center, and we know the access is gonna be on Second Street, so it would be built for fire access. It would be wider for health safety reasons, so the street probably would not look different than it does now, even if it was all zoned in a residential area. Kinda like I said before, you take into considerations the use of the street and build it for that, not really the zoning that it's in.
Thank you.
You want to go ahead?
I just want to say that there is a lot of crashes on Second Street. We live right by the bakery, right next to it. And the fact that we've been here 31 years and somebody's going to tell us that we can only sell our house for commercial, is a joke. It's very unfair that all of you are gonna decide what we're gonna get for our houses.
I would agree.
I agree with you.
I think that
Yeah.
is just so wrong, that we could be there that many years and you could make the bakery your priority, which is really what you're doing. That whole area is becoming the bakery. And it's really sad for all the neighbors, because we had a really nice neighborhood, and now we don't.
I hear you. I want to point out the
I
fact
think
that
it-
most of this council is very new. So we didn't make all of these decisions.
But I believe this council as a whole agrees with you that we shouldn't be deciding your property value, the market should. And we are trying to stay away from that as best we can. And
And that means you would have us sell our houses to you and have to get out?
no.
What would it mean?
I'm saying as a council, I'm gonna go ahead and speak for the council as a whole, we don't want to do that. We don't want to dictate what your house value is. We want to stay out of that. We are trying to make decisions as what's best for the city, but I think as a whole, we are consistently asking, what is that gonna do for the neighbors? What is that doing for the homeowners? What is,
We were there long before anyone else was.
but, and I'm not on the bakery side at all. It's there. It was long before I came here. The decisions to move forward with the bakery on a lot of things were here before I'm here. I'm just trying to remedy those situations as best I can for you guys. I'm on Second Street homeowner side. If I was in your shoes, which is what I do, I've done for Brandon, I've done for Cher, I wouldn't like it either. So I'm trying to make decisions as a homeowner as well as a mayor, and it's not easy, but I will never try and dictate the value of your home. I will always defend the value of your home as best as I can, and I think
So
the
you'll try
council
to
as a
keep it
whole.
commercial residential?
I will do what's best for the homeowners on that street.
Okay.
100%, and I agree, and I won't speak for the council, but I believe the council is 100% behind that as well.
Yes.
Sheriff?
We were supposed to discuss what you guys were gonna do at this meeting, what you guys were gonna do with the library. What's happened with the library? That was to be on this meeting.
No, that's
Yeah.
not on our agenda.
I noticed it's not on the agenda. Did it go commercial, or is it just?
They pulled the schoolhouse, so the schoolhouse chose not to move forward with the zoning.
Thank you. That was supposed to be discussed.
Well, I apologize that it's not on the agenda, but yes, they pulled their request to rezone, so that is no longer on the table.
If anybody wants to know why there's barricades in my driveway, I left my driveway open, and my vehicle was hit.
Well, I apologize.
So, that's, now I have barricades. And that's why people think they can block it.
I'd be happy to send an email to Alex and see if maybe the sheriffs can post up there for half a day or an hour or two at a time and just keep an eye on it. I'd be happy to send an email to Alex and see if, instead of sitting on the city or something, we can see if we can get them set down there.
Thanks for letting them flood.
Brandon's had his fire.
Brandon?
Yes, I have.
And I've tried to assist in that situation as well.
Question about the need for parking in terms of like purchasing lots. If you look at the downtown plan, I don't see where having parking anywhere except where it currently is in terms of lot sizes makes any sense because there is so many residences. So I would encourage the city not to be purchasing lots and trying to add parking in the outskirts. That would just be giving people
I agree with you.
empty lots.
I 100% agree with you. I think it's a waste to look to pour concrete for a car to park and make no money on
It
it.
would all be residential.
If there's a possibility to develop land and we can add a few extra random parking spots in the process of a project, that makes more sense.
Right.
But to go out and seek a parking spot and pay for that, that's foolish.
Right, we haven't grown as a commercial district
That's
at all.
foolish.
So anyway, I just thought that out.
Appreciate it. All right, if nobody's got anything else, we're gonna go ahead and adjourn.
We don't have to make a decision today?
No, this is all informational.
Very, very well put together, thank you. Yes,
I could have done a little bit better, but-